Good morning and welcome. Please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the University of Maine Army and Naval ROTC Color Guard, followed by the singing of our national anthem by Kayla Malin Gayton, a senior vocal performance and music education major from Sabattis, Maine.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Thank you to Kayla, members of the UMaine Army and Navy ROTC Color Guard, and the University of Maine Brass Quintet for performing the prelude and processional music. Once again, good morning and welcome to those here and to those who are watching this event as it is being streamed live online. I'm Danny Williams, Chair of the Inauguration Planning Committee, Executive Director here at the Collins Center for the Arts, and proud graduate of the University of Maine. Let me take a moment once again to remind you that while photography and recording are permitted, we ask that you silence all devices and refrain from using any form of flash. It is my distinct honor and privilege to host this most special and historic event. Today's inauguration is the culmination of activities that have involved and engaged students, faculty, staff, alumni, and the community at large, not only here in Orono, but at the University of Maine at Machias, where earlier this week, an installation ceremony was held for President Ferrini-Mundy. The University of Maine is an institution that serves its state and its many constituencies with great distinction. This morning, Joan Ferrini-Mundy will formally assume the presidency and carry forward the great tradition and awesome responsibility of leading both the University of Maine at Machias and the University of Maine, the state's land-grant university and flagship campus of the University of Maine system. As one would expect on such an auspicious occasion, we have a number of distinguished guests with us today, including members of President Ferrini-Mundy's family. We extend a warm welcome to Joan's husband, Rick, her children, Beth, Adri, and Joe, who is here with his fiancée, Sarah, Joan's brother, Tim, and his wife, Nancy, and Joan's brother, Tom. On stage, you'll see a number of delegates from across the country representing their institutions. They are also listed in your program. We are so grateful to them for joining us today. Delegates, would you please stand and be recognized? We are also pleased to welcome many of the presidents from other University of Maine system campuses, and institutions that were unable to be represented today sent lovely personalized greetings to President Ferrini-Mundy, which are on display in the lobby. As you can imagine, the planning for an event like this is months in the making. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of details to manage, many of which can change and do change over time. But one constant throughout this process has been President Ferrini-Mundy's insistence on inclusivity. And while you are not going to hear directly from everyone on stage, you're welcome. The people you see assembled before you and the vast constituencies they represent do so to display commitment and support to our new president. As I introduce members of the stage party, I would kindly ask that you hold your applause until all have been introduced. Mr. Logan Armando, undergraduate student government president. Mr. Jonathan Bomar, graduate student government president. Ms. Melinda Pelletier, representing the Classified Employees Advisory Council. Mr. Ken Ralph, director of athletics. Dr. Kenda Sheely, interim chief of staff. Mr. Chris Lindstrom, vice president for human resources. Dr. Jeffrey Mills, president and CEO of the University of Maine Foundation. Dr. Jeffrey Hecker, executive vice president for academic affairs and provost. Dr. Robert Dana, vice president for student life and dean of students. Ms. Claire Strickland, Chief Business Officer. Dr. Lizzie Wahab, Vice President for Enrollment Management. Mr. James Ward, Vice President for Innovation and Economic Development. Dr. Cody Vararamian, Vice President for Research and Dean of the Graduate School. Mr. John Diamond, President of the University of Maine Alumni Association. Ms. Nancy Marks, representing the Professional Employees Advisory Council. The Honorable Jared Golden, United States Congressman. Representing Susan Collins, Ms. Carol Woodcock. Representing Senator Angus King, Ms. Edie Smith. Congresswoman Shelley Pingree is sorry she could not be here today, but sends her congratulations and very best wishes to President Ferrini-Mundy. She says, quote, "The University of Maine and the University of Maine Machias are in good hands." Representing the town of Orono, Ms. Cindy Maynard, Chair of the Orono Town Council. President Emeritus, Dr. Peter Hoff, the University of Maine's 17th President. President Emerita, Dr. Susan Hunter, the University of Maine's 20th President. Mr. Owen McCarthy, Chair of the University of Maine Board of Visitors. Mr. James Irwin, Chair of the University of Maine System Board of Trustees. Ms. Molly Dana, Tribal Ambassador for the Penobscot Nation. Dr. James Page, Chancellor of the University of Maine System. Dr. France Córdova, Director of the National Science Foundation. The Honorable Janet Mills, Governor of the State of Maine. And Dr. Joan Ferrini-Mundy, President of the University of Maine and its regional campus, the University of Maine at Machias. At the University of Maine, we recognize that we are on Marsh Island and are in the homeland of the Penobscot Nation, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. From Penobscot homeland, it is now my pleasure to welcome to the podium Ambassador Molly and Dana to offer a Penobscot territorial welcome. Ambassador Dana was appointed in September of 2017 after serving as an elected member of the Penobscot Nation Tribal Council. Ambassador Dana grew up on Indian Island and is a graduate of the University of Maine. Ambassador Dana.
Kwe, Naga Agwane, Ndiliwizi, Mully and Dana, Nu Jayo, Bonawapskiwi. Hello and welcome. I am Mully and Dana from the Penobscot Nation. It feels significant to use my native language here in our homeland of Marsh Island. Nol is welcome. I am thankful to be here. Congratulations to President Ferrini-Mundy for this outstanding new role, and congratulations to the University of Maine and students for finding such a great addition to your family. I am a 2006 graduate of the University of Maine, Orono, with a BA in political science, and the degree I earned here has served me very well. I was carrying my first daughter in utero when I marched in my commencement at 22 years old, and my education has made it possible for me to raise my two daughters and work various jobs that landed me in my current role that is the truest manifestation of my interests and studies here. I am a blessed woman to be the first appointed ambassador for my nation that I love so much, and I am honored every day that I get to humbly accept the responsibility of being its voice. I owe a lot to this institution and the tuition waiver program that I attended under that was a result of truth and reconciliation between the University of Maine and the indigenous people. While in school here, I was awarded the Margaret Chase Smith Center for Public Policy Award Scholarship for a project that I did on Indian mascot usage as a public policy and political issue. And it seems that has come full circle for me and for our state. As part of that award, I toured the library in the town of Skowhegan and learned about the senator's life. Now, in 2019, that town has voted to remove the last high school Indian mascot. It is a celebratory yet reflective time for us involved in this effort to bring truth, honor, equality, and respect for Indigenous people to the forefront of the hearts and minds of Mainers. I thank you, University of Maine, for seeing and supporting my work as an undergraduate, and I am so proud of what we have accomplished. Senator Margaret Chase Smith said, "Moral cowardice that keeps us from speaking our minds is as dangerous to this country as irresponsible talk. The right way is not always the popular or easy way. Standing for what is right when it is unpopular is a true test of moral character." I am always thankful to have had the right support system in life to fall back on when speaking out for the unpopular yet right thing was exhausting or taxing. The networks we create become our families, and when we have community, we never stand alone. The community here is enriched by the contributions and presence of a mosaic of voices, including the voices of my own people, the Penobscot Nation. I am hopeful that our rich collaborations and partnerships continue to develop and grow, and that we work together to raise necessary voices in a world that has no shortage of moral cowardice. I thank you so much and all my relations. We wish you success and prosperity, President, as you lead the new generations into precious and sacred journeys that will impact our state, country, and world. Where truth shines and education is celebrated, it makes us all future ancestors that are worthy of the light of hope we will pass on to our descendants. Thank you again for having me today, and may all your good work keep coming full circle and get stronger every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Dana. Representing the University of Maine Board of Visitors is its chair, Owen McCarthy. Owen is a UMaine graduate and former student body president who is now president and founder of the digital therapeutics company MedRhythms. Please welcome Owen McCarthy.
It is with great pleasure that I stand here this morning to welcome my fellow Black Bears, friends, students, faculty, Ambassador Dana, Governor Mills, Director Córdova, Chair Irwin, and Chancellor Page to this momentous occasion, the inauguration of our 21st president, President Joan Ferrini-Mundy. For context, my presence this morning is on behalf of the University of Maine Board of Visitors. We are an organization that are dedicated servants to the university, working directly with the president on key strategic issues as advisors and on advocates on behalf of the benefit of the university. Today is important. We know it is always important to celebrate the installation of a new leader in any organization. But at UMaine, a place that has seen 3 different centuries, a place that has served our state as a center for talent and knowledge creation, and a place that has changed so many families, including my own, the importance and the gravity of the situation is heightened. Fortunately, in this instance, I can attest that our 21st president exceeds the bar set by the hallowed halls of the University of Maine with both her leadership style and her vision for the future. At the BOV, we've seen Joan's leadership style firsthand. We have found that as a leader, she approaches any situation with a humility that is not to be mistaken for a lack of confidence, with an optimism that is not to be mistaken for a fool's hope, with a firm belief that it is the merits of an idea and the hard work required to make it real that is the most important, no matter who and where it comes from. She's also a leader that doesn't have a command and control leadership style, but with a style that creates the conditions that each of us can thrive and opt in to take on the challenges of the day, and all of this with an unwavering integrity that we can all aspire towards. You know, as an aside, when I was initially writing this speech, I wrote about 1,500 words, which didn't fit into my allotted time. But I was watching the movie Gettysburg from 1993, and there's a moment in that where our 32nd governor, Joshua Chamberlain, was giving a speech, and I had paralleled how Joan's leadership style matched up with Joshua Chamberlain in that moment. And so, since I don't have the time, homework for all of you is to go forth, watch that, and think about that. But as we look to the future, Joan and her team have focused on ways to align us in 3 categories: fostering learner success, creating and innovating for Maine and beyond, and in growing and advancing partnerships. Additionally, we are excited under her leadership that we are positioning to elevate our already productive research enterprise, which is particularly timely as I was just reading a Bloomberg article about how there's a connection between research investment and the impact of revitalizing rural America. But in closing, I wanted to give all of you a final welcome for coming today in celebration. To celebrate a leader that inclusively worships the quality of an idea, that enables all of us to opt in for impact, and that believes together we can drive the prosperity of the University of Maine and the state of Maine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman McCarthy. The University of Maine was established in 1865 under the provisions of the Morrill Act. As Maine's land-grant and sea-grant institution, with a statewide mission of teaching, research, community engagement, the university extends the resources of this learning community to address the educational, economic, cultural, and social needs of the entire state. It is that inextricable link that we share with our state that makes us so grateful that our next speaker is here with us today. A complete biography of the Honorable Janet Mills appears in your program. It highlights a distinguished career in public service, which includes being the first woman to be elected district attorney in New England, the first woman to hold the position of Maine's Attorney General, and as of this past January 2nd, the first woman governor of Maine. Would you please welcome Maine's 75th governor, the Honorable Janet Mills.
Danny, thank you all. You know, one of the greatest honors I've had is a new bar in Portland. They named a drink after me, the Janet Mills 75. I got to recommend it to you. It's Maine-grown organic bitters and all kinds of weird things. But it's a pleasure to be here. Some days I get up and I go across the street to the office, and I try to get as much done as possible because it's a real job. But there are other days like this when it's a real special thing. It's not just a job. Being governor of my state is just the biggest honor I have ever dreamed of having. And this kind of event makes it all the more special for me, and hopefully for you. It's great. I loved being Attorney General too, but I got to tell you, I go to the conferences and they all call you General Mills, and no longer. I was starting to feel like a box of Wheaties. But thank you, Danny, for the kind introduction, and I want to thank you and the fellow members of the Inaugural Planning Committee for the invitation to participate in this event and for the work that went into bringing us all together. I have some recent experience at inaugurations, and I know it's hard work, and it looks like you have not missed a beat. President Ferrini-Mundy, Chancellor Page, Congressman Golden, Chair Irwin, trustees, Ambassador Dana, Dr. Córdova, delegates, members of presidents of Maine's public universities, alumni, faculty, staff, students. Have I missed anybody yet? Citizens and guests. Takes up half the speech right there. It's a pleasure to be with you to mark the inauguration of the 21st president of the University of Maine and the first inauguration of a new president to lead both our flagship institution and its regional campus, the University of Maine, Machias. You know, I look around this campus. I didn't attend school here, but I visited many, many times, and I think on the way up here, on the drive up, I thought, you know, well, there's very little ivy on these walls, and there's neither are there ivory towers or moss-covered windows or gated paths to learning here or ceilings made of glass. For we pride ourselves on this campus not simply on bricks and buildings or playing fields with great green spaces or on our caps and tassels or cool koozies in blue and white, or just our zoo crew that plays with wild abandon at the drop of a puck. No, on this campus, we also tout alums who learned here how to change the world. The prolific and popular writer Stephen King, peacemaker Dr. Bernard Lown, Senator Olympia Snow, Hoover Dam engineer Francis Crowe, marine scientist Kathleen Wynne, renowned professional hockey player Paul Correa, and Emily's List director Emily Kane. Because here we value people and their ideas, their diverse ideas, their hopes and dreams, and in this incubator of democracy that is the University of Maine and its campus, we broaden the horizons of the mind. And that is why we welcome today with excitement a woman whose knowledge and whose experience in expanding opportunities for all of us in science, technology, engineering, and math will open new doors and avenues for change on this campus and on the campus of Machias. And so the University of Maine's guiding mission is consonant with her life's mission to advance learning and discovery through excellence and innovation, while addressing the complex challenges and opportunities of the 21st century through research-based knowledge. It's a lofty one, but its core values live and breathe in Joan's life work. Joan Ferrini-Mundy has worked to advance learning for decades and to expand the diversity of thought, students, and discovery in the STEM fields, a personal and enduring passion, and we welcome that here. She said recently, quote, "Helping people learn mathematics is my first love." Golly, I wish I'd had her as a teacher. And while I may not be as adept as you, Joan, in that endeavor, your passion for education, built over decades in classrooms from Michigan to New Hampshire, shines in your respect and understanding of the University of Maine's teachers, its researchers, its faculty, and students. And prior to joining the University of Maine, you know that Joan served as a leading member of the National Science Foundation for nearly a decade, recently as Chief Operating Officer of the $7.8 billion agency. Now, the state budget I submitted in January was over $8 billion for 2 years. She's run a national budget, $7.8 billion, and everybody thinks they have sticker shock at my budget. Anyway, and in that role, though, she worked with 2,000 institutions to support the discovery and boundless curiosity of 359,000 researchers, teachers, and students. I am so looking forward to hearing more about the National Science Foundation from Dr. Córdova, who's joined us to celebrate the installation of our new president here. But earlier this month, Joan testified before a U.S. House subcommittee about the critical role higher education institutions play in preparing a diverse STEM workforce. In her testimony, and I hope I don't steal your speech, she said, quote, "As both science and the workplace change, higher education has a part to play in ensuring that students will thrive in those environments and will be the leaders of tomorrow. Will Maine rise to meet the challenges of today and ensure that our students are the leaders of tomorrow? I hope so, and I have every expectation with her leadership we will do so. Because you know, last August, the Maine Department of Labor predicted a net gain of fewer than 100 jobs in the decade to come, or the decade from 2016 to 2026, a total job growth of 0%, with roughly only 9 jobs added to our Maine economy each year. And that's what each and every one of us sees and hears every day. Maine's economy cannot grow because of a lack of qualified, credentialed people to do the work. And fewer than half of Maine adults hold a post-secondary credential, either a college degree or a professional certification. Yet 2 out of the 3 jobs require credentials. This imbalance is why we have, at the same time, employers saying they cannot find workers, and workers saying that they're stuck in dead-end jobs. So Maine's economic future is dependent on our ability to give more Maine people the training and education they need and that our employers need to prosper. So we have a lot of work to do. And so I'm grateful that the University of Maine is playing a critical role in addressing Maine's workforce shortage by building the public and private partnerships we need to propel students into lifelong careers and spur economic growth here in Maine. This week, Joan Ferrini-Mundy announced that the University of Maine School of Nursing will launch a pre-licensure Bachelor's of Nursing cohort at Machias next January. I applaud that, because more than 3,200 nursing positions are expected to be vacant by 2025. And I applaud the university's commitment to addressing this looming shortage and to sustaining our community access to quality health care, the biggest issue I found on the campaign trail last year. Many other examples exist of community partnerships headed by the university system, making a difference. And this week, Commissioner Makem attended the Board of Trustees meeting in Machias, where the early college enrollment has climbed 40% since the fall semester. Commissioner Macon and the trustees also heard from students enrolled in University of Maine Machias as part of the Family Futures Down East, a 2-generation workforce investment strategy for Washington County. There are a lot of partnerships going on, and the one with, we're doing more here, I think, than playing a pivotal role in addressing those critical challenges. We're also opening doors to the innovation and the scientific discovery that we'll need to tackle the challenges of our tomorrows. Climate change, one of the greatest threats ever faced by humans in modern times. That threat will be met not by silver bullets of compulsion, but by actions taken promptly by all of humanity. So from studying the impact of climate change on ocean warming and aquaculture, to and the untapped power of offshore wind here being researched so ably by this facility, this campus, powering the Orono campus with renewable energy, all those things, the University of Maine is creating jobs, local jobs, and a more sustainable environment for all of us. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Heinrich Rohrer said, quote, "Science means constantly walking a tightrope between blind faith and curiosity, between expertise and creativity, between bias and openness, between experience and epiphany, ambition and passion, arrogance and conviction. In short, between an old today and a new tomorrow." So I believe that Joan Ferrini-Mundy's depth of experience, her devotion to Maine students, and her demonstrated ability to lead all honor the founding principles of the university. And with her leadership and talent already overflowing at the University of Maine, we will build the bridge between today and a new tomorrow for Maine students, businesses, and our entire state. So I am honored to join with you all in celebrating the inauguration of President Joan Ferrini-Mundy, a woman who brings us new eyes, fresh ideas to lead us to new horizons. I look forward to the next 150-odd years of excellence on this campus, in learning and discovery at the University of Maine and University of Maine Machias. Welcome home, Joan.
Thank you, Governor Mills. The University of Maine Singers is a select auditioned choir whose members come from all disciplines across campus. Under the direction of Mr. Francis Vogt and accompanist Dr. Laura Artesani, the singers perform multiple concerts on campus throughout the academic year, including a concert tonight that you'll hear more about a little later. They have just returned from their annual spring break tour that takes them throughout New England. And next spring, as they do every 4 years, the singers will once again embark on a European tour. The piece they are about to perform is an excerpt from Song of the Open Road by Norman Delagioio. The composer has adapted the words of Walt Whitman's poem of the same name as he invites us on a journey and asks, "Will you give me yourself? Will you travel with me? The road is before us. I give you my hand." Thank you, Fran and Laura and the University Singers for that beautiful performance. This group is a shining example of the talent and diversity of our students at the University of Maine. Our second keynote speaker is the 14th Director of the National Science Foundation, Dr. France Córdova. Dr. Córdova's career in both higher education and in the sciences is, in a word, extraordinary. Dr. Córdova is President Emeritus of Purdue University and Chancellor Emeritus of University of California, Riverside. She was Vice Chancellor for Research at University of California, Santa Barbara, and Department Head of Astronomy and Astrophysics at Penn State. Prior to her current position, Dr. Córdova served as NASA's Chief Scientist. As Director of the NSF, Dr. Córdova oversees, as we heard, a $7.8 billion budget for an agency charged with keeping the United States at the forefront of science and engineering, empowering future generations of scientists and engineers, and fostering U.S. prosperity and global leadership. It is our honor, and please welcome Dr. France Córdova.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the University Singers for that amazing, amazing song. I'm honored, indeed every one of us is honored to be here today to celebrate as Joan Ferrini-Mundy is formally installed as the 21st President of the University of Maine. Maine, that word to most Americans connotes rugged, windswept seacoasts, the smell of pine cones and apples, the exuberance of nature's wildness. These were things that inspired great poets who were born and raised in Maine, like Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and Edna St. Vincent Millay. And today, they are an inspiration to Joan Ferrini-Mundy, whose love of birding and gardening, of mountains and seas, are inspired by Maine's pied beauty. From its earliest days as a state, Maine symbolized a youthful spirit of exploration, of individualistic accomplishment, of wanting to make a difference. Nowhere is that spirit captured better than in the University of Maine. Here, more than 11,000 students come to learn, to be educated, to grow, to explore, to research, and to prepare to become leaders. And who is a better teacher, mentor, and leader than President Joan? She is both a thinker and a doer, as her distinguished career in academia and government illustrates. I've had the good fortune to have worked with Joan for the past several years, first in her role as head of NSF's education programs. I was so impressed with her leadership in furthering the nation's commitment to STEM education and development of a STEM workforce that I asked her to be our agency's chief operating officer. In that position, she had many jobs rolled into one: leader of management and operations, counselor for all programs, advocate for scientific discovery, both on a national and international stage, and chief advisor to the director. We were fortunate to have had Joan at NSF for 11 years. She greatly influenced the entire agency, and that's the reason why so many people from the National Science Foundation are both on the stage representing their past universities and also in the audience. Joan started many important programs and initiatives, and this was so important for the country. NSF is now, I hate to correct anybody, but as of a week ago, it's an $8.1 billion agency. So Thank you to the taxpayers of the United States of America for their investment in our nation's science and technology, their investments in our students who are going to become the scientists and engineers of the future, their investments in all fields of science and engineering, their investment in holding true to our mission to further the progress of science for national defense, for health, for the nation's economy, and so that our nation sustains its role as a global leader. So thank you to all of you for that investment. Joan started many important programs and initiatives, as I said, but it's not the activities, but the character of her leadership that is most admirable. And Owen McCarthy alluded to that character, which you've already had the opportunity to sample for the past 9 months. It's her approach to problems, her inclusion of many in their solution, and her fearlessness in taking on, well, everything. And her influence was felt far beyond the National Science Foundation. At her send-off in Washington, D.C. last June, a White House principal had this to say to Joan, quote, "As the White House prepares its strategic plan for STEM, we have been uniquely privileged to have had your wise counsel and partnership. Few people are willing to do so much to help others succeed. Ultimately, you showed how deeply you care about STEM education and America's students," unquote. I want you to know a little bit about her accomplishments at NSF because it will tell you much about what you can expect from her as president of your university. She kept a keen focus on education as a vital and integral part of the NSF mission, ensuring that everyone else kept that focus too. Her insistence that education has an essential role to play in research programs has been key to the message that research and education are important for a nation that aspires to lead the world. I know that Joan has a great vision for research and development for the University of Maine, a vision that embraces all of the state of Maine. Joan embraced both the visionary and practical work of the agency, focusing on the big picture and on the detail. I'm sure you've already seen evidence of this in the months that she's been here. She helped our agency adapt to big external transitions. Think of the changes in the White House and Congress over the past few years. Adapting to change is so important, as the governor has underscored. Your President Joan has a finely tuned sense of what is possible and where change can be most effective. She will lead by example. Importantly, Joan led us to adopt a new consciousness of the ethical and moral roles and responsibilities of both the agency and its stakeholders, including the universities and colleges that we fund, some 2,000 in all. What does that mean? It means that it is not only the research that is important. The good conduct of research is essential if we want to ensure that all people, including women and minorities, have ample access to and support for research. With her efforts, our agency has become an important voice for inclusion and for eliminating harassment of all kinds. An example of inclusion, Joan was a voice for involving K-12 students in cyber education nationwide through a program called Computer Science for All, and for expanding citizen science opportunities and the engagement of museums. She spearheaded efforts to establish almost 100 pilot programs around the country to broaden access to math and science for underrepresented people of all ages, and to ensure that all those different programs are talking to each other so they can scale up for the entire country. Every one of us has some great puzzle that drives us, something we really want to solve. For Joan, ever the mathematician at heart, it was the famous mathematical puzzle of Fermat's last theorem. Growing up, from time to time, she said she would play with its solution. Her research turned her to another kind of puzzle: why math comes so easily to some and is so difficult for others. So take heart, students and parents. Now that Joan is president, math will now be a Maine thing, and perhaps will come more easily to all. It's not hard to see how this all adds up. You have a rare leader and champion for the university and the state in President Joan. Congratulations, Joan. Congratulations to the University of Maine. Thank you.
Math may become a Maine thing, but I'm still not going to do it in public. Thank you, Dr. Córdova. It is understandable why occasions such as these often focus on the future. We've heard a lot of that today. But milestone moments are also opportunities for reflection and to honor those who preceded us. Over the next 7 minutes or so, we invite you to take a look back at the leaders who have brought us to this moment.
time to hear old Maine shout till the rafters ring. Stand and drink the toast to once again. Let every loyal Maine man sing.
Our thanks to the Fogler Library's Special Collections Department and UMaine's Division of Marketing and Communications, and in particular, Ron Lisnett, for that wonderful video. Traditionally, the University of Maine System Board of Trustees holds its meetings throughout the year at various UMaine System campuses. This past Sunday and Monday, the trustees were at the University of Maine Machias, which is why it was so fitting that Machias was the kickoff for this celebration. We have kept the trustees busy this week, which is why we are glad so many of them could be with us today, including our next speaker. Would you please welcome to the podium Mr. James Irwin, Chair of the University of Maine System Board of Trustees. Trustee Irwin.
Governor Mills, Director Córdova, Ambassador Dana, presidents, distinguished guests, Chancellor Page, and of course, President Ferrini-Mundy. It's my honor to represent the University of Maine System Board of Trustees, and I bring greetings and congratulations to you all on the occasion of President Joan Ferrini-Mundy's inauguration as president of the University of Maine and its regional campus, the University of Maine, Machias. Before I speak briefly about today's event, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude and that of the Board of Trustees to Chancellor Jim Page. Chancellor Page is retiring this year after what will be 7.5 years of service. We thank him for guiding the University of Maine system toward his vision of one university in service to all the people of Maine. While we have much more to do before we get there, thanks to his leadership, our pathway is unmistakable, and we have achieved many key milestones. So thank you, Chancellor Page. Presidency of this great institution is one of the most consequential leadership positions in our state. The reasons for this, I think, are familiar to all of us. As Maine's land-grant and research university, the University of Maine has a statewide mandate to support the Maine economy through research and economic development. As the flagship university, the University of Maine has a unique responsibility within the university system to lead by example through innovation and collaboration to help empower all our universities to fulfill the University of Maine system's mission. And as the state's largest higher education institution, the University of Maine prepares more students in more fields than the rest of the system combined, having a profound impact on the quality of our workforce and our citizenry. In 2019, presidency of this great institution calls forth the additional duty to lead in what may be one of the most consequential periods in the university systems, and perhaps even the state of Maine's history. Governor Mills referred to much of this. We all know these reasons why this is such a consequential time. We have a demographic crisis, but one that I would say not just a demographic winter perhaps, but potentially an ice age, is depleting our workforce and threatening our long-term economic future as population trends intersect with a digital revolution that will draw capital investment and employment opportunities to wherever there is a sufficient and a sufficiently trained supply of talent. A tectonic shift threatens the very foundations of higher education and the sustainability of many institutions. As technology and the economics of higher education foster new programming, new delivery systems, and the unbundling of the traditional bachelor's degree, we must adapt and compete in ways unforeseen only a few years ago. Together, these forces are compelling the University of Maine system to do many things. I just want to note two of them. First, we must lead the way in helping Maine rebuild its workforce so that Maine is not frozen out of the best opportunities of the digital economy. And second, at the same time, we must reframe and reconstruct our business model so that we can successfully compete as a single enterprise to make accessible, affordable, and relevant post-secondary education available to students, regardless of vocation, geography, socioeconomic status, or age. So, Forgive my use of apocalyptic-sounding descriptors for these challenges. I'm not suggesting an image of Joan holding her mace aloft, commanding the glacier to recede and the earth to be still. But I do want us to recognize that the challenges facing our workforce and economy and the revolution in higher education are both of a magnitude greater than anything we have experienced. The response must be equal to those challenges, not a nip here and a tuck there, but transformative in nature. These times call for leadership that is visionary in concept, highly collaborative in execution, and tireless. Joan has already demonstrated that she embodies the best of these leadership attributes. She fully understands the big picture and the way forward. But she listens, she respects, she insists on facts and evidence, she reflects, she communicates, she empowers. And as for tirelessness, I can't tell you how many times Chancellor Page and I have had discussions about the challenges facing the system, and the conversation would go something like this. Why don't we ask Joan if she can do that? And several times, Chancellor Page's response has been, well, actually, Joan already thought of this and she's already stepped in. In short, Joan Ferrini-Mundy is a consequential leader for these consequential times. So I close with an expression of gratitude that Joan Ferrini-Mundy has stepped forward here and now to answer the call, and with congratulations to her on her installation as the 21st President of the University of Maine.
Dr. James Page grew up in Caribou, Maine, obtained a bachelor's degree in history at the University of Maine, Fort Kent, attended Harvard University, attained a master's in philosophy from St. Andrews University in Scotland, and received a doctoral degree from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and has served with equal distinction in the academy, having taught at the University of Kansas, Dartmouth, Macalester, and the University of Maine. In 2012, Dr. Page was appointed the University of Maine's 9th Chancellor. A unique characteristic which distinguishes Chancellor Page from any of the former chancellors is the fact that he was born and raised in Maine and educated at one of the system's universities. It is now my pleasure to call forward Dr. James H. Page, Chancellor of the University of Maine System, for the investiture and presentation of the Presidential Medallion. Chancellor Page.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is a great pleasure, in addition to being an honor, to be here to intone the investiture of the President. Owen McCarthy's remarks earlier made me think that there was, the comparison is rough, but bear with me. Joshua Chamberlain arguably won the Battle of Gettysburg and saved the Union. As Bowdoin professor, he taught every course in the Bowdoin curriculum except mathematics. I'll leave you to draw the comparison, to the appropriate comparisons. Governor Mills, Congressman Golden, Ambassador, Dr. Córdova, members of the stage party, friends, honored guests in the audience. The opportunity to serve as the University of Maine president bears enormous responsibilities and opportunities, and it is part of the charge to remind us of the responsibilities that the president has, but we all have as well to support her moving forward in her leadership and in her work. So, Madam President, in the 154 years that this institution has educated and enlightened the sons and daughters of Maine, as well as many from beyond our borders, 20 leaders have served before you. As with them, we make with you a pact of trust that you will preserve and enhance the University of Maine and its regional campus, the University of Maine at Machias, and work tirelessly to extend its benefits to those who constitute its community and to the larger society of which it is so important a part. Your predecessors labored to establish and uphold these standards, and we expect you to continue that commitment as you make your personal imprint on the life of this great institution. We charge you to defend and advance the work of the faculty, to cherish and respect the great tradition of free and unfettered inquiry essential to our society, to lead by word and by deed those who themselves are looked to for wisdom and leadership. We entrust to you our hopes for the future and the university's very reason for being, our students. You are first teacher among the company of teachers, and it is incumbent upon you and your colleagues to so nurture and instruct that those who study here will never question their choice of where to plan and build their futures. We ask that you never forget that the life of the university depends on the confidence and support of the people of Maine. As the land-grant institution, the university has always had the special mission of public service, but the university now has become more central to society than at any time in its history. Your responsibilities for economic development and engagement for civic leadership approach those of education itself. Remember that in all respects, it is the people's business you do here. Your success is their success, and the university can succeed only if they succeed. Madam President, we give to you the care, custody, and control of this respected institution, trusting that in you and through your every endeavor, the University of Maine shall achieve the fondest hopes of those who depend on it and who love it best. And now, having charged her with her responsibilities, and before this company, declared our faith in her judgment and leadership, I, James H. Page, Chancellor of the University of Maine System, acting on behalf and at the behest of the Board of Trustees of that system, do hereby appoint, affirm, and declare Joan Ferrini-Mundy to be the 21st President of the University of Maine with all the rights and duties thereto pertaining. And I now ask President Ferrini-Mundy to come forward, along with Chair Irwin, to join me in presenting President Ferrini-Mundy with the University of Maine medallion. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 21st President of the University of Maine and the University of Maine at Machias.
Thank you all. Good morning and welcome. I'm delighted and deeply humbled that you're joining us for today's celebration. Welcome and thank you, Governor Mills, Director Córdova, Chair Irwin, and members of the University of Maine System Board of Trustees, who I could see out there before, but now difficult to see from here. Ambassador Dana, University of Maine Faculty Senate President Townsend. Thanks to Chancellor Page. Jim, your wisdom, support, and even the mathematical conversations we have are invaluable. Thank you to my University of Maine System colleagues and fellow presidents who are here. To the University of Maine Board of Visitors Chair Owen McCarthy and to the BOV members, I want you to know how much your leadership and sound advice matter for this university. It is wonderful to have Congressman Golden here and representatives from our congressional delegation. Thank you. Friends from the National Science Foundation, I appreciate that you made your way to Orono. I imagine there is no snow left in Alexandria now, so enjoy it while you're here. My family is here and have been introduced, but I'd like to offer special gratitude to my husband, Rick, who could maybe wave. I can't, there you go, okay, right. Rick's patience and willingness to be flexible have been extraordinary as I made career changes that took our family to lots of places and meant lots of moving trucks. And my love to our children. You also need to wave now. Please wave Joe Mundy. Joe Mundy and Sarah Jones, who, as you've heard, will be getting married this summer. And good to see you. Beth Mundy. And Adri Mundy. You ground me and remind me that my main job is and always has been being a mom. To my brothers, sister-in-law, cousins and cousins-in-law, friends and colleagues who've come here to be with us today, thank you all. To our faculty and staff, to the deans and directors, to members of the President's Cabinet, to our wonderful alumni, you all make our university the vibrant and dynamic place that is the college of our hearts always. Thank you. Fellow presidents and delegates, we at UMaine are grateful for your presence and the reminder of the traditions and interconnectedness in higher education. UMaine Presidents Emeriti Peter Hoff and Sue Hunter, thank you for being here. Your impact on UMaine continues on, and I assure you that we are building on all that you have established. Your friends and colleagues here are surely pleased to see you. So am I. The Planning Committee for the Inauguration Week events has been fantastic, working even now, I'm sure, behind the scenes. Thanks to Danny Williams for his leadership and to all of you for your creative, thoughtful, and hard work. And thanks to all of our student performers today who have enhanced this celebration so very much. Thank you. And students, you are the real reason that we are all here. The university is about you, and you are at the center of this celebration. I'm glad you're joining in. So to all in the audience here today, thank you for coming to Orono, and for those who are unable to be here, thank you for joining us via the live stream. So you thought it was a whole speech about thank yous? Actually not. I'll move on. But I am very grateful. I'm thrilled to be the president of the University of Maine, which includes our regional campus, the University of Maine at Machias. Being president is an honor that comes with sometimes daunting responsibilities and always meaningful rewards. Director Córdova, in a speech that she gave a few months ago, characterized her work at NSF as exciting, exasperating, enchanting, and wonderful. And that description really works for me here in this position too. On reflection, in preparing these remarks, I realized that the honor, the responsibilities, and the rewards all stem from the fact that the University of Maine is the flagship university within the University of Maine system. We have a distinctive place as the state's only public research university. We have important obligations to the state of Maine, and we are fortunate to have had consistent and wonderful support from our state leaders. Our origins are as a public land-grant university, meaning that we work with the people, the businesses, and government of the state of Maine to advance our well-being together. I think about these responsibilities every day and am so proud of how well our university does in enacting them. President Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act in 1862. The bill was developed by a New England leader, Representative Justin Morrill from Vermont. And then we were founded in 1865 as the Maine State College of Agriculture and Mechanic Arts. 154 years later, the University of Maine continues to fulfill the agriculture mission for today and for tomorrow. In true land-grant spirit, the applied and basic research that goes on at the university evolves and now includes food sciences, fisheries, and aquaculture, rural economic development, and much more in the agriculture areas. I received an email from one of our Maine vegetable growers who runs a small farm. It opened with, "I want to tell you some good news." That's like the good kind of email. Like to see those? He had participated recently in a hackathon event at UMaine. The theme was to hack a piece of technology that would be useful for small-scale agriculture. And the event was held in our Hackerspace lab in the Memorial Union. It was sponsored by the America East Conference Academic Consortium. And the email writer is a UMaine engineering alum using his education to survive in small-scale agriculture. These connections happen all the time here, and I'm so delighted to be a part of them. Today's expanded version of the mechanic arts, the other piece of our original mission, thrives in the university as well. We are hoping to be able to break ground next year for the awesome new Engineering Education and Design Center. This is due in large part to the planning and creative ideas of our faculty, students, and staff, and to the support of so many very, very generous donors, and to our partnership with the state of Maine, which provided the debt service. Maine will be able to continue to count on the University of Maine to prepare the engineers who are ready to define tomorrow for our state. Public education is one of our nation's and one of Maine's greatest public goods. As a product of public education myself, and as someone who has spent most of her career in the public sector, I have deep roots and commitments to its promise. Public education to a nation, a state, a family, or a student is about opportunity, new horizons, meeting people different from ourselves, challenging ideas, and finding our passions for learning. What better place in public education is there to be than the University of Maine? In his book, Designing the New American University with William Debars, Michael Crow writes that research universities, quote, represent our best hope for the survival of our species. That's the daunting part. But in my short time here, I am confident that we are getting it right at the University of Maine. This is a place full of creative, committed, collaborative people working to make Maine and the world a better place. I believe this because in just a few short months, I've seen how rich the University of Maine is. On a beautiful day last summer, I made a visit to the Darling Marine Center overlooking the Damariscotta River. I heard about the fascinating research projects of undergraduates, not only from the University of Maine, but from universities and institutions across the state, in partnership with graduate students, postdocs, and faculty in our marine sciences programs and others. They were working on applied problems with lobsters, clams, crabs, and oysters. I hadn't read that out loud, it sounds like a menu, but it was actually really nice science. I was fascinated and could have spent all day talking to them about their posters. Later in August, I had conversations with our wonderful new class of Mitchell scholars. I could see the hope and aspirations of prospective engineers eager to go back to their hometowns and help shape the future in Maine, and of aspiring psychologists wanting to help people through music therapy, and so many others with equally inspirational hopes and dreams. And I got very good advice about places to check out in Maine: Mount Katahdin, Baxter State Park, Acadia, and Old Orchard Beach. I would like to summarize my observations in 3 words: connections, convergence, and commitment. About connections. We talk about being from away and the 2 degrees of separation in Maine. I'm very grateful that the governor said, welcome home. Somehow these notions of being from away and the 2 degrees of separation are in play at the same time here. My experience in being from away, and New Hampshire really isn't that far away, but that doesn't work to convince anyone. My experience is that that doesn't mean you won't be included, welcomed, and brought into exciting things that matter for Maine. From the membership on various boards and groups, to being made an honorary Master Gardener volunteer, to the wonderful student who came to my office hours pretty much just to welcome me and to check on whether I was feeling included, given their commitment to an inclusive campus. To faculty inviting me to visit classes and speak with students, I am being connected here. My father, whom we lost a long time ago, helped me with connections. After high school, his journey took him from his immigrant parents' home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, to Castine, Maine. He was in Maine Maritime Academy's class of 1947. His stories of that time made it clear that he was welcomed in this state, and the names of his lifelong friends from Maine are family names now that I encounter still today, 75 years later. It's a connection. And about convergence. Universities are places where it is okay and expected to be focused on trying to understand, explain, debate, predict, and improve our very complex world, and to create the works of art, literature, and music that make our world wonderful and push us to think and interpret. At UMaine, I am delighted to see that this sense of discovery and of creative expression abounds across our faculty and our students, and that I expected. But one of my most exciting discoveries here is how skillfully our faculty weave their commitment to research, discovery, and creative scholarship into their teaching of our students, from Maine and beyond, every day across the campus. Our undergraduates are working on phage genomics, conducting interdisciplinary research to better understand food and waste systems and to improve them. They are learning history through geographic information systems and digital humanities. In courses from the social sciences to business, students are engaging in real-world research problems. For those of you interested in learning more about this, I invite you to what I hear is one of the most exciting UMaine events each year, though I must admit we've had some very exciting moments in athletics this year as well. This is the 2019 UMaine Student Symposium, sponsored by our Center for Undergraduate Research. It'll be held on April 10th at the Cross Insurance Center in Bangor. Several hundred students will be sharing their work. This is a chance to see your land-grant university in action. Related to all this, I would argue that convergence is thriving here. This term, when applied to research, according to the National Science Foundation, means, quote, solving vexing research problems, in particular complex problems focused on societal needs. It entails integrating knowledge, methods, and expertise from different disciplines and forming novel frameworks to catalyze scientific discovery and innovation. At UMaine, social scientists, oceanographers, and climatologists are doing work on climate change that is important for understanding and mitigating conditions in our changing globe. Chemical engineers, civil engineers, biomedical engineers, physicists, and others are collaborating on wood product-based composite materials to be used everywhere, from buildings to bridges to bone replacements. Anthropologists, earth scientists, and educators are developing courses to help students learn about the role of indigenous science in understanding the world. Oyster fishermen, shellfish biologists, and mathematicians work to understand issues of current flow and harvesting. All are working in the convergent land-grant tradition to help make Maine the best state in which to live, learn, and work in the coming years. Finally, I want to highlight commitment. I see this in our loyal alumni who come to our campus throughout the year and remain involved with their university. You come to cheer on our Black Bear athletes, and you come to share your expertise and offer your generous support. And many of you work here. We are grateful for all that you do. As a university, we have groundbreaking research and development in floating offshore wind technology, demonstrating commitment to solving the challenge of renewable energy. We have committed staff, such as those who came together on a chilly evening a couple of weeks ago to restore electricity to the campus. At the University of Maine, we are connected, convergent, and committed. So what about the future? My vision for UMaine is grounded in what we are today, an outstanding university situated within a wonderful system with special attributes here. We are committed to each other and to Maine. We converge to solve wicked problems, and we connect through learning, scholarly work, and partnerships. Governor Mills, in her inauguration speech in January, said, "Streams, like the people of Maine, change direction on occasion to find the best way forward." Here at the University of Maine, we are constantly seeking the best way forward through our campus-wide comprehensive efforts, our first-year success initiative, our strategic vision and values project, the University of Maine System Research and Development Plan. And you all seek the best way forward every day in the interactions between students in a lab or staff working in the union or faculty discussing their best ideas about teaching. In all of this, we are looking to define tomorrow together by finding the best way forward for the university, for the system, and for the state of Maine. I am very pleased to be here and to connect, commit, and converge with you. Thanks all.
Congratulations, President Joan. As I mentioned earlier, the University Singers perform regularly here on campus. As part of the inauguration celebration, and really sort of the conclusion of several events, the Singers will be performing tonight here at the Collins Center at 7:30. The concert is free and open to the public, and we hope you will attend. Later this month, on April 28th, also here at the CCA, the Singers will be performing one of the all-time great choral masterworks, Handel's Messiah. The soloist in the next piece is Alex Meisner, a sophomore vocal music education major from Waterville, Maine. Once again, here are the University Singers under the direction of Mr. Francis Vogt and accompanist Dr. Laura Artesani.
Together now and forever, I love you, I love you. And when I'm praying, I hear him saying, I love you, I love you. People all over the world, they're opening up, they're coming around. They're saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Before we end today's ceremony, I would like to thank the many talented and dedicated individuals who helped make this inauguration ceremony and the associated events so wonderful. Many of those individuals are listed on the back of your program, while hundreds of others worked quietly behind the scenes to make it all happen. Our thanks to them. I want to remind you that after the singing of the Stein song, I hope you will join us for a reception in the main lobby and cafe area. Thank you all so very much for having joined us here today. And for those who have been watching online, we thank you for logging on. And now, as we conclude today's program, please welcome to the stage President Ferrini-Mundy's son, Joe. Joe is band, jazz, and orchestra director at Londonderry High School in Londonderry, New Hampshire. He has a very specific skill set that is going to come in handy very soon. Joe will guest conduct the Screamin' Black Bears Pep Band and the University Singers. A 120 of them just snuck in. They're right up there. He will conduct the pep band and the singers for the singing of one of the most beloved college songs of all time, the Stein song. The lyrics are printed in your program, so please stand and Joe, take it away.